All right, so today is the day when we get 2404, and I'm very happy and excited about it. I've been trying to get hold of this, and I've tried some beta and some older images, but this is an official release, so we are here to celebrate that, I think. So I'm gonna get this server install image and also the desktop image. And we'll upload it to our ESXi server and we'll install it, and then we'll do our AI virtualization that we've been doing from past few days. So the idea is to get our Ubuntu 2404 ISO images uploaded on our ESXi server, which is what I'm doing right now. I've already downloaded these two images, and I went to my ESXi server, went to storage, went to one of these data stores that I have already, went to data store browser, and I create a distros folder over here for ease, and I put all the distributions that I have over here. So up until now, two of my favorite ones were 2204 LTS versions, but now is the release of 2404. So we have a desktop and a live server. And on this machine, this is a very small SSD that I have. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and delete this Ubuntu AI desktop. So I'll go ahead, delete, not just unregister, delete this particular machine, and that is gone now. And what we'll do is create a new virtual machine, and let's name it Ubuntu AI S and 01. Let's be fancy over here. So S stands for server, and 01 stands for the first instance of it. I don't think we're gonna have 10 or more, so let's just do 1 over here. And this is going to be a Linux machine, and this will be a Ubuntu 64-bit machine. All right, we are choosing our SSD, which has 249 gigs free now that we have deleted our other Ubuntu distribution. We are going to have all the CPUs allocated to it, so all 48, and yeah, that's fine. And we are going to have, first let's change it to GB, and 116 GB of memory, and all of it needs to be reserved and locked because we are going to have a PCIe pass-through over here. So all of it needs to be logged over here, and we are going to have a data store ISO distro 2404 live server. So this is the one that we want to choose. Select that, and now we can add other device, PCI device. One is already selected, and I have 2 devices. Let me add another PCI device, and they both automatically get selected over here. So both the PCI pass-through devices are over here. So that is awesome. Now in the VM options, I have to make sure couple things. One, it is booted in EFI mode, so that is what is selected over here. And the second one is I have to edit configurations and add couple of parameters over here. So the first parameter is this one, where we need to make sure that the PCI pass-through is set as true. And the second parameter is this one, where we need to make sure that this value is set to 128 GB over here. So the calculation, I've shown a quick calculation over here, which I found on one of the websites, that we have 2 times 24 GB Nvidia P40 graphics card, right? So each one of them has 24 gigs of RAM. 2 of them we have 48 gigs of VRAM we are dealing with. So the next power of 2 that we have after 48 is 64, and then we have to round it off to the next one after that, so 128. Do not ask me why, but this is the calculation that goes along for ESXi, and this is what I'm using over here right now without applying a lot of brain power over here and just accepting that this is what it should be. So we have these two variables defined, and now we are all set and ready to boot this VM. So let's do next over here. Let's just verify once more. All this looks good. This looks good. All of this is good. Capacity hard disk, no, we don't want 16 gigs, so let's fix that. We want 200 gigs over here. So that's one thing we caught. Okay, all right. I think we are good. We reviewed everything else, and let's do a finish. Let's power it on. So this is 2404, and I've seen some of the videos on and some of the change logs on 2404. It gives us a nice apt, you know, when you're doing sudo apt get update and install and all that, you get a nice view of that over there. Wow, okay, there's something going wrong over here. It did not like something. Let's power it on again and see if it does that. Okay, it actually did power on. Okay, all right. So I do want to try or install the Ubuntu server. Let's do that. And what we want to do is to have a standard install process. Do not choose any Docker or anything over here for the install, and then we'll do install all that once we enable the SSH server. So all we want to do is just have this installed over here in our remote machine with P40s, and we'll install all other drivers by ourselves manually. So let's let me see if I can maximize this one. Okay, and let's choose English, and yep, that looks good. Ubuntu server, that is good. I also want to search for third-party drivers and install it, and that looks good. It has detected the DHCP server, so that is good for us. No proxy, and the mirror location is being tested. I'll let it test it, but we can also skip and ignore that if we want to. But I'll let it test, and I'll give it 5 seconds, and it passes. Good. And use entire disk. Yep, that's what we want. Full 200 gigs of disk can get done over there. So we are good over there. And we are good with this partition scheme and storage configuration. All good. So let's hit enter. And yes, we do want to continue for this installation. Okay, and let's do the standard server's name, Ubuntu AI S1 is what we chose, a fancy name. My name over here, and 8 stars as passwords. Both the passwords are in, and let's quick do done. Over here, continue. We do not want to attach Ubuntu Pro right now. Let's do a continue and skip that. Install OpenSSH server. This is very important. We definitely want to do that. Okay, none are available locally or online. Okay, all right, that's fine. And over here, I don't want to install anything, even though we're going to install Docker later on, but we don't want to install anything from here for now. So I'll just skip all that, and we'll just wait for a little bit, have our Ubuntu server install. And once this is done, I'll resume our recording over here. All right, so our installation is done. We get that install complete on the top over here, installation complete. And let's go and choose the reboot now option. And we can also exit out of the full screen mode. And let's see. It is gonna ask us to remove the installation media and hit enter. We don't need to do that. It'll just boot as such. And once it boots, then we can SSH into the server and continue from there. We don't have to do anything extra on top of it. All right, perfect. So our server is up. Okay. Let's see if we can we minimize this a little? There we go. You are too big. All right, we don't even need that window. Okay, let's get rid of that window. Done. All right, so step one, SSH. We did need that window, but I think I remember the name of 76, if I'm not wrong. I think it is 176. You know, let's reopen the close tab and let's review what was the IP address of the machine that we just shut down. Well, the 176. Okay, that's the one. Perfect. So SSH local at 192.168.1.176, and let's agree to that. And so this is our new Ubuntu server. This is a new Ubuntu server over here. Perfect. We have the new kernel over here and everything looks good. Okay, so let's check if the Nvidia drivers are installed. Nope, they're not installed. Okay, so let's update this first. This is why we are here for, right? To take a look at our new updated Ubuntu distribution. All right, everything looks good over here. It's a brand new distribution, so no updates today. Ubuntu drivers and devices, and let it probe for our hardware. Okay, so it did not find our devices over here. That is interesting. So let's see. Edit. We do not have our two PCIe devices passed. That is very interesting. I don't know if I can hot plug them, but let me try. Let me try to see if that works. If I hot plug these two devices, operation is not allowed in the current state. Okay, so before I do anything, let me shut down the machine and let me reattach the PCIe devices. And I don't know what happened over here. Like, those devices should have been attached. I remember very well that they were attached, but somehow they got removed. It's very interesting. Let's double check that they are here. They are here. Okay. Let's try to power on the machine again. Very interesting. Probably that's the reason why it did not find any devices initially when it was trying to install during the setup process, during the install process, right? So that makes sense. Okay, so let's try to log into our machine again and do a Well, there is no SMI, we know that already, but let's probe for devices and we should see P40 over here. Okay, it does see our devices over here, and for that it is recommending the 535 version, and we'll pick this server version over here. 535 server version is the most stable one that I've seen, so let's install that. So let's have it install it, and then we can run our Nvidia SMI command to check whether the devices are detected correctly or not. We may have to reboot actually after this. After installing the drivers, Nvidia drivers, we will have to reboot it. So let's have the drivers installed over here and then perform boot. Secure boot not enabled on the system. All right, let's compile the kernel modules and get done over here, please. So we do have a ton of horsepower on this PC, a lot of RAM and a lot of processing power over here. So it is working. Let's wait for a little bit more to get all of this installed. All right, so we have our Nvidia driver installed. Let's see if any other devices are getting probed over here. So open VM tools. Let's install this also. Let's get that done too, and all right, so we installed that too, and let's just reboot the server now. And all right, so we have rebooted the server now, and the server is in the reboot cycle, and let's wait for this to get done. And while the server is booting back up, our next steps over here is to install Docker and to make sure that we get our Ollama and Ollama web UI up and running. And we'll also install Conda for us over here so that we can do some of the Python programming using Jupyter notebooks remotely on our server. So it's thinking, it's doing something. Let's see what it's doing. I'll wait till the server gets started over here, and maybe because we installed the VMware tools, the open VM tools over here, and there was a conflict because of that. I'm not sure, but that is a possibility over here. That caused some kind of conflict. Let's try this again. Give it another shot. Let's try to install. Okay, so it is starting. You know what? I'm worried that it removed the PCIe devices. Let's double check. Nope, they're here. They're here. Okay. So I don't know what happened over there last time. It did not want to restart. So, okay, let's log in again. Let's SSH into it again now that it is up. And let's see. All right, so both the P40s are showing up now, which is pretty good. What I like to do is set this Nvidia SMI into the watch timer, so that you can see this particular output over here refreshed every 1 second. So I had it as n-1, which is the time that we want it to be refreshed. So you can see the live update of this particular command output over here, and you can monitor your server's graphics performance over here. Now I'm gonna keep this on the side over here because in AI, graphics is everything. Your GPUs are everything. So that is what we are going to do over here. All right. So next steps are we're gonna open one more terminal. Well, actually, let's open a new one over here. We are gonna open one more terminal, and we will do a SSH. (176), and we will now install Docker over here, right? So I have opened the Docker installation document, and we'll follow the Ubuntu installation process over here. So step 1, copy that, paste it. Simple copy paste. We don't have to do much, except for one point that I'll mention when we come to that point. Let's scroll down. So we have added our app repo up until now, and now as point number 2, we're gonna install the actual packages. So these are the packages that we are installing. We do yes, we pull all the packages and we install it. And then we are not going to run this. So this is very important. This is the point which we will skip because we want to do our post install steps before running anything with the sudo permissions over here, right? So we go to the post install, and our group is already created as part of our Docker installation process. We don't need to do the step number 1. We have to do the step number 2 over here. So we can add our user to that particular group, and we are good over here. So $user is our user, so we can add that over there. And we can now either reboot the machine, or we can just run this command for the new group membership to take into effect. And now we are at a point where we can run the Docker run hello world command. So this will run the Docker run hello world without the sudo in front of it. So we can run it as our local user, which is my user Mukul over here. All right, we are done with the Docker. We're going to close that. Now there is a thing called lazy Docker, and it is good to monitor Docker containers, but I don't feel like installing it right now. I'm going to skip installing lazy Docker and go directly to Ollama. So Ollama is our server that will be hosting our models, different models that we have. And there are various ways in which we can install this. The way that we are choosing to install is via Docker container. Right, so this is the process of installing it. You first, you can either install it directly to run it on your CPU, or you can install it to run on your GPU. And we want to install it such that it runs on our GPU. So we first have to install Nvidia Container Toolkit. So let's install that. And we've done some of these things in our previous videos, so I'm not going to go deeper into it. I'm just going to install this directly over here, configuring the app repo, installing the toolkit. And we don't need to do this. This is not for our Ubuntu. Now we do have to configure Docker to use Nvidia drivers, so we will configure that, and we're gonna run that. And this is the command that will run to use all GPUs. So it says GPUs all. So we have two P40 GPUs over here. And in order for us to use both the GPUs, we do have to mention this particular command. GPUs is equal to all, and yes, we are doing the volume mapping and all that. We're doing the port mapping, but there's one thing that is missing over here, which is restart always. So if you run this command, your Ollama server, whenever you restart your Ubuntu server, your Ollama server won't get restarted automatically. So if you add this particular line to it, restart always, then your Docker container will start with your server. So instead of running their command, which I've just modified with one line, I'm gonna just run restart always appended command over there, and it's gonna pull this image from the repo, and it is going to start your Docker container. So we can do docker ps, and we can see our Docker Ollama server is running over there. We can also do docker inspect Ollama, and I just want to make sure that we have restart always flag as, yeah, I can actually grep also. So okay, so it is actually probably hidden behind a particular node over here, but anyway, this will restart it always. You can take my words for it, and we are good with the Docker being started with our Ollama server started over here. So we are good. Now the next step is to get our web UI started, right? So this is the Ollama web UI GitHub page. We go down, scroll down over here. We come to this particular section where we are having our Docker host as our Ollama, right? So Ollama is on our computer, and then we can use this particular command to run our Open Web UI. So Open Web UI is the interface that is on top of our Docker's, on Ollama's Docker server that is running in the background, and it is going to map to the port 3000 on your local machine, 8080 in the Docker container. And another thing you will notice, it already has restart always built in over here, so we do not have to append that. I'm just gonna hit enter over here, and it is going to pull I think it's 1 gigabyte of image right there. It's gonna pull that, and it is going to install and spin this particular up. So once it downloads, it's gonna uncompress it, which takes a little while to, it's extracting and decompressing it. And once that is done, this is the longest process over here, and once that is done, we'll be able to spin up our web UI. And once we spin up the web UI, there is one distinction that I want to show, that we have a total of 24 plus 24, 48 gigs of VRAM now. So there are certain models that fit on 24 gigs, for example, Dolphin Mixtral uncensored model that fits on the 24 gigs RAM. But there are now, we have opened ourselves to the Llama3 70 billion parameter model too, because that's about 40 gigs. And we have 48 gigs of VRAM. So even though these P40s, they are not close to the newer enterprise grade GPUs that they have, but they are good enough to have sufficient amount of VRAM to run Llama 3, which is something that I'm most interested in right now. So we have our Open Web UI running, and it is mapped to port 3000. Let's now go and open local, oh no, not local, 192.168.1.176, which is our server, and 3000 is the port. Okay, so we have our open web UI being served, and this is the initial login page. Please be very careful while you're signing up. Do not forget any of these details because this is your admin account. So please make sure you remember this password that you have. And now you have your open web UI up and running and connected to your Ollama server, right? So if you want to do any request response over here, nothing will actually work yet because there is no model in picture. So step number one is to get some models in, and these models actually reside in Ollama's container. So I'll show you where they reside in a second, but this is the place where you can download and install models. So from the UI itself, so you can click on the settings and you can go to your models tab. Well, there is actually a dark mode also over here, which I really like. I'm going to enable this dark mode, and wow, that looks pretty cool. And we can go to the models over here and we can write the name of the model that we want to pull. And if you want to know which models are available for you to pull, you can access the list over here. So you can click on that and you can see there is a Llama 3 that is very popular right now. Phi 3, which really recently came. It's a very small, tiny model from Microsoft. And very huge potential. I've run this on my phone and it gets just totally served on the phone. It doesn't feel like it is a 3.8 billion parameter model. So Llama 3 comes in two flavors right now. They are still training the 400 billion parameter model, but the two flavors that it currently comes in is 8 billion and 70 billion parameter model, right? So 8 billion is only 5 gigs, and any 8 gigs GPU is good enough to serve this one. But the 40 gigs one, the 70 billion parameter model, is the one that we can now run on our GPU. Right, so let's do both. Let's first do Llama, the simple Llama over here. So if you do just Llama 3, right, over here, then it pulls the Llama 3 latest, which is pointing to the 8 billion parameter model, right? So I'm just going to leave it as Llama 3 and we'll pull this particular model, and this being only less than 5 gigabyte, it'll pull very fast on our fast internet connection over here. So if you want to see right now, let's go to networking and you can see that our there it is spiking to full 500. Let's see, 545. It should spike even more. It is hardwired into our gigabyte connection, so it is almost done. It's almost done. And while we'll be playing with it, I want to show you one thing over here that, okay, get in, and got in, verifying the digest, and the model is pulled in almost about now. Anytime. There you go. Okay, so this model is in here now. So what we can do now is we can choose this model and then we can do a request response. But keep an eye on this, right? So keep an eye that currently there are only 2 megabytes of VRAM that is being used, and there is no process that says that is using the memory. But as soon as we choose a model and we do a request response, right? So let's just do help me study or whatever, right? And now this screen is refreshing every 1 second, right? So you see both the GPUs kick in. It's not like just one GPU kicked in, both of them kicked in. and this model is split across both the GPUs already. So this is pretty awesome that even if you have two GPUs in the system and you have 48 gigs of combined VRAM, the model does get split and it does get, sent to both the GPUs for them to process it simultaneously. Even if the model is not, this whole model could have fit in one GPU, but we still broke it down into two different GPUs for it to fit on both and utilize that processing power on both the GPUs. So let's do one more thing. Code snake game in Python for us, and now you will see how both the GPUs are being utilized. Power consumption also goes up on both of them, and we get pretty decent tokens per second over here. So the processing is really nice, and I'm really impressed with how the two GPUs kick in simultaneously. All right, but the reason why we have two GPUs is that 48 gigs of VRAM. So let's make use of that. So now instead of just having Llama 3, we'll have Llama 3 70 billion variant of that. So the one that we did without colon nothing, we did not put last time, it pulled the latest one, which points to the 8 billion, but now we are pulling the 70 billion one, and let's do that. So download cancelled, file does not exist. Why did it say that? Let's double check. 70 billion, Llama 3 70 billion, it should be right. Did I type it wrong? Llama 3 70 B. It should pull it. Okay, I must have typed it wrong. I'll go back into the recording and I'll see that. I don't know, there must be some connection issue. Either way, so now it is pulling our the bigger model, the 70 billion version of the model, which is really huge. So while we do that, let's quickly check how do we look like in terms of the download speed over here. 664, that is nice. And probably it'll spike up too sooner once it stabilizes a little bit. It's still spiking up. All right, so while we are doing all that, I want to quick show you something, that where are these images actually getting stored. So if you do docker inspect, and if you take a look at where the volume mapping is, right? So this gives us everything. It gives us everything wherever we have any kind of configuration related to this particular Docker instance. So we have our volume mapped over here, right? So let's take a look. Most likely we'll need sudo. So we have models, right? So data, and I think blobs after that. And this is what I wanted to show you, that right now it is downloading all the different little threads. It is downloading, and it is gonna merge all of them eventually once the whole model is combined together. So right now it is pulling this file slowly with whatever pace, and it is distributing into small sections over here. So the biggest one that we see is number 64, right? So let's do it again. So it is just pulling it up over here, and it is going to combine all these partials into one big chunk once it is done. The reason why I wanted to show you this is that this web UI interface, right? So this web UI interface is just means to interact with Ollama server. So we are still pulling and putting the data in Ollama. This is just doing request response with this Ollama server. And even if you do Ollama run a particular model, then you're gonna save the images in this particular Ollama models folder, right? So in this particular folder is where your final Ollama models have been saved. They are not being saved in the web UI folder, right? What do I mean by that? So let's take a look. So if you go to just the volumes level, there is an Ollama Docker container and Open Web UI. These things are not getting saved in the Open Web UI folder, right? So if we do, so we do not have the models getting saved over here. Instead, we have our models getting saved in the Ollama server over here, not in the Open Web UI server. And the point I'm trying to make is that all these models that are getting downloaded, they are doing request response with the Ollama server and not with just downloading some files within the Open Web UI instance. All right, while we are downloading this, I want to set up one last thing over here, which is installing Anaconda. And Anaconda is essentially so this is something that will help us maintain our environments. And for us to do that, we need to first download Anaconda and then install it, as simple as that. But if you see, there is a installer version kind of thing that's over here, so we have to go and check what is the latest one. I've already done that. So this particular command, I've modified it already, and the installer version that we are going to choose is this one, so 2024-02, and this is the one that we will use. So let's it's gonna just download in the home folder. That's fine, we'll download it over here. And right, let's modify these two commands. So we are downloading this. Oh, and we are also downloading our Open Web UI's Llama 3. So this network speed is being shared between these two. That's fine, that's all right. So let's have so it's going to take a couple of minutes. What I'll do is I'll pause the video right now, and then we'll come back once the downloads are ready. Okay, so that was pretty quick. We do have our download done over here. So Anaconda is here. Actually, we have our 70 billion parameter model also done, but let's have it stay over there. We'll come back to that in a second. Let's finish installing Anaconda. And the next step is, oh yeah, so we have to turn that such that we have the permissions to execute that. And once we have done it, we'll execute that particular one. Review the license. And yes, I agree to it. Enter to confirm. That's exactly where I want it to be. So we're going to turn this server as our development machine, and this is where Jupyter Notebooks come in really handy, because you can access the Jupyter Notebooks remotely, and you can have them deployed over here on this server. So we'll have our Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook kind of environment. We'll have our Python kernels deployed with the help of Anaconda. We'll do our environment management also over there, and we should be golden after that. So while this is installing, let's go back to our wow. So this is still doing, I think, the digest check. So SHA-256 check it's doing right now. So we'll let this do its work too while we install Anaconda, and we can make use of our time over here. So multitasking, just like the computer is doing it right now. So now it says Installation finished. Do you wish to update your shell profile to automatically initialize Conda? I do like doing this. So I want to do a yes over here so that I can see, have it initialized all the time. And this is done. It says to close the shell and reopen it, which is what we will do. We'll do an exit and we will SSH back in. Okay, so now we see base written over here and we are good. So let's see. All right, so it says that our Jupyter Notebook is running already. It's part of the Anaconda package. So it is running on 8888. So let's go to our /86:8888 and see if we can access that. Nope, we cannot access it. Okay. Oh, so it wants us to use this particular, but instead of localhost, it actually isn't able to find this particular URL. So okay, so probably we'll have to fix this in a little bit. All right, so let me close this. Let's close this out and we'll fix that later. But what I first want to do is go back over here, and the model is here, right? So 70B model is here. This is what I'm most excited about. So let's fit that into our VRAM, and let's see how that goes. So we're gonna choose the 70B model over here, and let's ask it to help us study. And this is going to load the model in the RAM again. And this is what I want to see, that it should load like about 20 gigs on both sides. So it's doing it, it's loading it, and very soon it will be done loading it. Yep, there we go. I think it's about right, 20 gigs on both sides, and it's responding now. So this is awesome. This is really awesome. We have our 70 billion parameter model running on two P40 cheap GPUs over here. This is really nice. So let's see if we can do this. The old mysterious mansion had a blank atmosphere that made visitors feel uneasy. So it must be an eerie atmosphere. And let's see. The correct answer is A, while it explodes our GPUs over here and makes both of them utilized over here too for us. Yep, and as soon as this output will be done, the utilization will go back to 0, which is awesome. This is awesome. So one last thing, I'll double check. So we have installed Anaconda over here. We can just use our Visual Studio Code's SSH plugin, the remote SSH plugin, and do development. But I wanted to get the Jupyter Notebook up and running over here. So probably something is blocking the Jupyter server that is up over here, and I'll do some investigation over here after our video. Let's see if we can together find something out over here. So let me try. I think that one we already downloaded that. So this is 192.168.1.176. Definitely not working. Very interesting. All right, let me take a look what's causing this. All right, so here's the solution to it. What I found out is that it's a two-pronged approach. So one, we'll have to open our Jupyter Notebook in a no browser mode and specifying the port where we want to run it at. So as simple as that, the Jupyter Notebook no browser with port 8888. And then just keep a note of this particular URL that we get over here. But before running this, we have to run this particular command over here, and we will on our local machine. So this command is not going to be run on our Ubuntu AI server, but this will be run on our local machine over here. So which has SSH, our username, server name, and then the local port over here and the remote port over here. And then because I've already run this command once, we do not have to redo it. I just ran it to test whether it is working or not. So, but you guys will have to redo this particular command once at least on your machine. All right, so now that we have this configured correctly, we can go copy this URL and we can open a terminal. Oh, didn't copy and paste and just modify the server address, hit enter. Should have worked. It should have worked. It doesn't want to work. Okay, let's see. What did we miss? Okay, did we 192.168.1.176? Whoa. All right. So it just worked before and it's not working anymore. Could not request local forwarding. So it says the address is already in use. So probably I mean, I can very easily change this port over here, and then we can redo this thing with a different port number, and then that should be okay. I think for demonstration right now, I will just redo that. I'll change the port that we are working with, right? And this should work. But I wanted to I'll debug that later. That's all right. So this is the URL that we have, and all we have to do is just change this, and this should work. Theoretically. Okay. Why aren't you working? Oh, so we can now use it as a local host over here because it is tunneling to and it is going directly over. So we do not have to change the server address. We're not accessing the server anymore. We are accessing our local host, and which is routing the traffic to that particular server. So it had always worked. So even if we go back and change it to our 8888, it will work as well. So we are good over here. We have our Jupyter up and running, and just make sure that you use exactly same URL and do not change the server name when you are starting. Even though you are starting it on the Ubuntu AI server, treat it as if it is running on your local machine because you have already done the mapping over here. All right. So, all right. Okay. This is all I want to show in today's video, and thank you so much for watching this.